Tonight on CTV News at 6. The business owner has seen this before.
It's actually my fourth time going through that.
This time, thieves in Timmins were caught on security cameras. Amid economic uncertainty,
our plan is cautious where it must be and ambitious where it should be.
The Ontario government has unveiled its spring budget. And it's going to be part.
So right now, we're going to be pivoting to using existing staff.
Funding is running out for the City of Greater Sudbury's patient transfer vehicle.
CTV News at 6 with Tony Ryma and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday. North Bay Police netted more than $38,000 in illegal drugs and cash as part of a street crime unit investigation. 3 people were arrested yesterday after police executed a search warrant at a home in the Carruthers Street area. Police seized $15,000 in drugs, including cocaine and fentanyl, as well as more than $23,000 in cash. Police also picked up 2 co-accused at a retailer on Algonquin Avenue while the search was taking place. The 3 accused were held pending a bail hearing. The trial is wrapping up of a young offender charged with murder from almost 3 years ago inside a bar in Greater Sudbury. CTV's Angela Gemmell has details.
The young person, who was 16 at the time, can't be identified. They're charged with murder and other offenses in the April 2023 fatal shooting of 22-year-old Joe Cabigan at Overtime Sports Bar. Final submissions were made today after almost 2 weeks of testimony. Witnesses testified to an altercation between 2 groups of men inside the bar on April 21st, 2023. Neither group was known to each other. Bar staff told one of the groups to leave, but a short time later, surveillance video shows one of the men returning and shooting the victim in the back of the head while he sat at the bar. The police investigation found a discarded satchel with a handgun inside, several blocks from the scene. The young person was arrested in Toronto a week after the shooting. Yesterday, the judge lifted a temporary publication ban on the identity of the co-accused, Noah Singh, who remains at large. Defense is trying to prove that due to his age, history of abuse, and threats from the co-accused, the young person acted under duress to pull the trigger. Tomorrow, the judge will hear submissions on a constitutional challenge from the defense that, if approved, would drop the first-degree murder charge down to second degree. Angela Gemmell, CTV News, Sudbury.
Thieves recently targeted a Timmins clothing store, and its owner posted security footage of them on social media. Police are investigating the crime but aren't releasing any details. CTV's Lydia Chubak reports.
House of Bras in Timmins has endured multiple break-ins. Store owner Joanne Gagnon says the most recent incident happened last Wednesday at around 5:45 a.m.
It's actually my fourth time going through that. And I thought with all the cameras and all the security system we installed and everything that we would be okay. But no, a year down the road, it's still happening.
The Timmins Police Service confirms an investigation into this recent break-in is ongoing, but was not able to accommodate an interview with CTV News at this time. A couple of days ago, Gagnon decided to post video of the robbery on her store's Facebook page.
I wanted people to see how it's really happening. Like, it really hits you once you see the video, because we hear about these break-ins all the time, but once you see the video, it really hits you more. Like, it looks more real.
Gagnon says thieves left behind a bag with a needle in it in 2 break-ins. She thought it suggested drugs were involved. Now she doubts that.
I think it looks more like organized crime than drug-related. Like, they leave bags with needles and stuff, I think, to make us think that it's drug-related, so we just forget about it. But to me, it's not. I think they were targeting, they knew what they wanted, and I think it's organized crime. The stuff is being sent out of town.
Gagnon says it's been a tough year, causing her to reflect.
With the economy, with the weather, and now all these break-ins, like it's not easy to be in retail. So it's kind of make you think of the future of, am I still going to be open, because all the cost of all of that, it's really how would I say that, heavy.
She's not giving up, though. She's launched a sale, and she gives thanks to everyone who's supporting her and her employees during this rough patch. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
At around 9 this morning, fire crews were dispatched to the Elm Place Mall in downtown Sudbury. This after reports of a gas smell on the second floor of the building. Fire and Enbridge crews were able to locate the leak to a unit on the roof of the building. Fire Services says positive pressure fans were used to ventilate the building. Employees in the mall say they were happy with the response from fire crews.
They've been really good about keeping us up to date and what's going on. They even got us a lovely city bus to keep us warm, and we're hoping we'll be back soon.
We have been responding to a number of gas leaks. A lot of them are due to ice buildup on roofs and where they are actually severing the natural gas line from there. So when in doubt, if you do smell gas and you are in a building with a fire alarm system, I would encourage you to pull that fire alarm, evacuate the building, and call 911 so that both the fire service and Enbridge can respond to the incident and determine where the cause of the gas leak came from.
About 40 people were evacuated from the mall and everyone was allowed back in by noon. While schools have reopened in Sudbury following last week's historic snowstorm, getting students to class remains a logistical challenge. The Sudbury Student Services Consortium says plows have made some significant progress this week, clearing sidewalks and roads. However, hundreds of routes are still canceled. The consortium's executive director says many narrow residential streets and rural turnarounds make it difficult for buses to navigate safely.
We still had 800 cancellations of the runs that were canceled, approximately. So yeah, so we're moving along, but I'm hoping that tomorrow is going to be a very big day for us. I'm hoping that Monday, you know, we keep on working with the city, and if they can open a few more of our issues, our problem areas, then I think, you know, next week is going to be, I'm hoping, a really good week for all of us.
Boucher says parents can check the consortium's website and social media pages for the latest updates. Okay, let's talk about the weather. Light snow, freezing drizzle, and the temperatures, though, aren't too bad. To tell us more, here's CTV's Amanda Hicks filling in for Rick Wyman.
Thanks for that, Tony. And those not too bad temperatures are deceptive. I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's talk about the freezing drizzle advisory that we see on the screen here. We told you about that last hour in Greater Sudbury. That has since been lifted. It still remains in North Bay, Powassan, and Mattawa into the evening hours. So make sure you take care if you are heading out, but it's not going to be a significant ice buildup. Temperatures are going to drop, though, as we continue into Friday. But the payoff is that we'll be seeing some sunshine. I'll tell you exactly how long the sunshine is going to last and when we might see some milder conditions as well. I'll have more on that coming up a bit later on. But for now, Tony, back to you.
Thanks for that, Amanda. A financial blueprint still to come on CTV News at 6. Ontario's finance minister rolls out a budget today. What's in it for Northern Ontario? And a spirited debate over a solar energy project west of Sudbury.
Pure Country 91.7. Sudbury's home for the best country music. Listen for your chance to win $50,000 with Pure Country's big $50K payday.
Tempers flared last night at a Sable Spanish Rivers Council meeting as a group of residents opposed to a solar energy project near Massey came out to voice its opposition.
Shame on all of you. Every single one.
Council voting down a resolution to rescind support for the project. Security was on hand at the meeting because of a large number of residents were expected. Most councillors stuck to their vote, with some saying they had bylaws to follow and this project was still in the early stages. The mayor adding some of those arguments were provincial jurisdiction and public consultation would be coming.
This is not a full-time job. We all have jobs outside of here, or most of us do. And I don't like all the abuse and the badgering and the threats and emails. And the bullying that goes on, we are trying to do the best we can do for the township. And if that means supporting these landowners for now, and it's not even a thing yet. They've only sent in the application. The application hasn't been okayed.
The 150 megawatt solar facility would be created by Potential Renewables on a 600-acre property. There would still have to be environmental study. The company would also need to secure a contract with the province's independent system electricity operator. This week's landmark social media addiction trial in California is set to unleash a flood of lawsuits aimed at big tech. A jury found Meta and YouTube purposely designed their products to hook young users and awarded millions in damages to the 20-year-old plaintiff. CTV's Heather Wright has more.
A damning verdict with global implications. A Los Angeles jury ruling Wednesday that two of the world's most popular apps, Instagram and YouTube, are deliberately addictive, designed to hook young users and keep them scrolling. Experts are calling it a big tobacco moment for big tech.
The cigarette companies, it came out, targeted young people, knowing that that's how they got their lifetime customers. And virtually the identical documents have emerged from social media companies. They target adolescents because they know that their brains aren't fully developed.
Both Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, as well as YouTube, have been ordered to pay $6 million US to the victim in this case, who says the platforms left her with body dysmorphia, depression, and suicidal thoughts. The companies plan to appeal, but the ruling is giving hope to those who have been pushing for change in how these companies operate.
We've been talking about for years the idea that consequences eventually catch up with everyone.
Frances Haugen is a former product manager at Facebook who blew the whistle on the company, saying it chooses profit over safety. With hundreds of similar cases working through the courts, Haugen says tech companies could ultimately be on the hook for billions of dollars.
I think it's going to be a wake-up call for tech companies that they need to think about their internal governance processes and make sure that they have the checks and balances in place, that they don't just go for the quick buck.
Among the lawsuits filed against tech companies is one here in Ontario, where several school boards have sued Meta, Snap, and TikTok, accusing the apps of being psychologically manipulative. While the U.S. verdict will not impact any litigation here, it is a sign, experts say, that the conversation is changing. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Back now for a check on your current conditions. Here's Amanda.
Thanks for that, Tony. We did see a cooler day out there, that's for sure, between -9 to 1 degree out there, but things are going to get colder as we get closer to the weekend. That's for sure, at least with the wind chill anyways. Just a heads up as well, there is that freezing drizzle advisory in North Bay, Mattawa, and Powassan that's going to continue over the next couple hours, but there won't be a lot of ice accumulation, but it will get colder, that's for sure. But let's focus on the here and now and what the temperatures are looking like, what the conditions are looking like outside your doorstep. So let's take a look. We've got a mix of sun and cloud in Kapuskasing, sunny skies in Moosonee, mix of sun and cloud in Cochrane as well. We've got some snow falling, cloudier conditions in Wawa, Sault Ste. Marie, and Chapleau between -9 to -2 degrees. Cloudy skies in Parry Sounds, a little bit milder there for sure. Some snow falling in Temiskaming Shores and North Bay between -8 to -9 degrees. Mix of sun and cloud in Sudbury, and then cloudy skies throughout the rest, -2 and -8. That was the current conditions. Tony.
Thanks, Amanda. We hit the target. Next on CTV News at 6, Canada has reached 2% of GDP spending on defense. Right now, we're heading to Algonquin Park, and this live webcam is courtesy of the Friends of Algonquin Park, and it's 0. We're back in just a few minutes. Tax cuts for home buyers and businesses, more money for healthcare and education. Those are a few of the highlights from the Ford government's budget. But as CTV's Siobhan Morris explains, the budget comes with a higher projected deficit.
Ontario is in for deeper deficits for longer, even though U.S. tariffs didn't squeeze the province's economy as much as was feared last spring. The finance minister calls his approach pragmatic.
Our plan is cautious where it must be and ambitious where it should be.
The government projects a deficit of almost $14 billion this year, significantly more than the $8 billion predicted in Budget 2025. Next year, a $6 billion deficit, with a return to surplus in 2028-29, a year later than previously planned.
Of course, I'd prefer to have a smaller deficit. I'd prefer to balance sooner, but we have to live in the world we're in.
A world Bethlyn Falvey says still has a lot of challenges. Ontario will spend $244 billion this year. $101 billion of that goes to health, $42 to other programs, and almost $41 billion to education. You've already heard some of the promises in this spending blueprint. $6 billion more for colleges and universities, with an overhaul to OSAP and the end of a tuition freeze. Accounts for elementary teachers to buy classroom supplies, more cash for primary care, and waiving the HST on new home purchases for all buyers for 1 year. But here's what's new. A 1% income tax cut for small businesses, an extra $1 billion for home care over 3 years, $186 million more to the Ontario Autism Program, and $41 million for a program that puts police officers in schools. The government is also setting up a new $4 billion investment fund, working with a private manager to find companies that line up with the province's economic priorities. Think defense, data centers, and tech companies.
Come up with great patents and intellectual property. And then investors come from around the world and buy up those patents and move the offices to wherever, to the U.S., Silicon Valley, move the talent. I want that to stay here.
He insists there will be guardrails to make sure taxpayers' money is well spent. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
To dig deeper into the budget, let's bring in Ontario Finance Minister Peter Bethenfalvey. Thanks for making some time for us, sir.
Good to be with you, Tony.
Okay, what's in this budget for Northern Ontario? We only have about 4 minutes in this interview, so how will it make our lives easier?
Wow, only 4 minutes for Northern Ontario. I wish I had 40 minutes, but I'll tell you, we've been big supporters of Northern Ontario. We're leaning into critical minerals. The one permit, one project process in Timmins, Canada Nickel, of course, Frontier Lithium up north of Kenora, and Kinross's Gold Project. We brought back the Northlander, so quicker transit from Toronto all the way up to Timmins and Cochrane, so that's coming back. We're building a lot of highway infrastructure upgrades and, of course, building a lot of schools and investing in our healthcare sector in the north. As you know, we expanded the Northern Travel Grant and expanded the range. So lots of investments for our northern community.
Okay, a lot of mayors are wondering when Highway 69 is going to be 4-lane. That finished. And also 2+1 highways on 17 and 11. You didn't have any money targeted for those projects.
Well, no, we continue to plan and invest in Highway 11 and 17. It's absolutely important. You bring up Highway 69. I absolutely support doing what we can as fast as we can. We're getting some things done. Our highway budget, which a big chunk goes to the north, is $31 billion. And we're going to continue to invest, and not just transit like the Northlander, but constantly building more highway capacity. Obviously in the Ring of Fire, we're doing that as well. And of course, upgrading and trying to make it as safe as possible. We got a lot of work to do there. We're going to continue to focus on that.
I have to ask you about Sault Ste. Marie. You know the plight of the community there, Algoma Steel. The city has a plan, the Port of Sault Ste. Marie. There's going to be financing needed. Is your government on board, going to come through? Because you did put money into the steel plant for the ARC. And are you going to put money into the Port of Sault Ste. Marie?
Well, that's conversations between our Minister of Transportation and the mayor up in Sault Ste. Marie. So those are, I'm sure, ongoing conversations. But I think the message should be clear for the people of Sault Ste. Marie. We're there to support Sault Ste. Marie, and that's why we put $100 million to help, along with the federal government, $500 million into retooling and supporting Algoma in Sault Ste. Marie. The investment in the ARC furnace has been critical, And we're pushing Buy Ontario and Buy Canada, so we'll get more procurement of Canadian-made, Sault Ste. Marie-made steel for our great operations up there. So that kind of support will continue. And, you know, it's tough. We're dealing with a tariff war. We're dealing with global conflict. But one thing I can assure the people of the North that we're doing everything we can to invest in infrastructure, healthcare, good jobs in the economy, and we're going to continue.
Mr. Bethenfalvy, thanks so much for your time. We did better than expected, only 3.5 minutes. You take care.
Okay, thank you.
That was Ontario Finance Minister Peter Bethenfalvy. In other news now, Canada has officially hit the NATO spending target of 2% of the country's GDP that was set in 2014. Prime Minister Mark Carney says by doing so, he is delivering on a promise to invest in the armed forces in years to come.
We're overhauling the very way we arm our Canadian forces, so they have the tools they need to keep Canadians safe. Over the next decade, Canada will unleash $500 billion, I'll repeat, $500 billion in defense and defense-related investment, from submarines and aircraft to drones, sensors, and radar systems. We will build the essential infrastructure that our security needs.
The Prime Minister says where possible, procurement will be focused on Canadian businesses, and what Canada cannot build will require partnerships with like-minded allies. The Prime Minister's office says Canada will continue working toward NATO's new target of 3.5% defense spending. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly demanded that NATO partners boost defense expenditures. Not everyone is on board with the numbers. However, the Conservatives say an increased defense is just an illusion produced by creative accounting.
As we know that all this increased defense spending that he's bragging about today is actually an illusion. We know that through creative accounting that government spending in national defense has increased by over $10 billion. That hasn't actually resulted in increased capabilities for the Canadian Armed Forces. It has not actually increased our own security.
Meanwhile, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand is set to pitch a new defense bank to the G7 today. The proposed bank would provide critical financing for defense firms that struggle to access capital. Canada has been leading the push in recent months for a defense and resilience bank as part of Prime Minister Mark Carney's effort to boost cooperation between NATO members and other allies. Major European nations have yet to embrace the initiative. More than 2 months after Nicolas Maduro was captured in a U.S. military raid, the ousted Venezuelan president arrived in a Manhattan courtroom today. He says that drug trafficking charges against him should be thrown out. U.S. President Trump says the U.S. will bring additional charges against Maduro. The former Venezuelan leader and his wife have been in a dispute over U.S. sanctions that prevent the Venezuelan government from paying for the couple's legal defense. Both have pleaded not guilty to the charges.
Hands up! Venezuela! Hands up! Venezuela! Hands up! Venezuela!
Meanwhile, a large crowd of protesters gathered outside the courthouse today, many carrying signs calling for Maduro to be set free and chanting, "Hands off Venezuela." And there's more news still ahead, but first, here's your full weather forecast with Amanda.
Thanks, Tony. And I know a lot of us are hoping to put those winter parkas away, at least eventually, but we are going to want to keep that around for tomorrow at least. But by the time the week starts next week, it will get a little bit milder, at least see some more spring-like conditions anyways. But as for tomorrow, we're going to see some sunny skies. It is going to be pretty cold out there with the wind chill, -20s to start the day tomorrow. So you are going to want to bundle up, that's for sure. Overnight though, chance of flurries, -19 in Sudbury, a few clouds in Timmins, chance of flurries in Temiskaming Shores, and periods of light snow mixed with freezing drizzle in North Bay. Looking at Moosonee, -27 overnight, and that's without factoring the wind chill, mind you. Few clouds expected there, periods of light snow in Gore Bay, -15, and -13 in Parry Sound with a chance of flurries. Let's look at the 7-day forecast, starting with Sudbury, nickel belt. So the wind chill feeling like -23 in the morning with the wind chill, getting up to a high of -8. Mainly sunny skies, chance of flurries on Saturday, high of -4. But then by Sunday, temperatures start to climb, get a little bit closer to seasonal, chance of sleet there. Mix of sun and cloud on Monday, high of +4. 1 degree on Tuesday with a mix of sun and cloud. For Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, chance of flurries for tomorrow, high of -5. Chance of flurries on Saturday, high of -1. Chance of sleet on Sunday, high of +3. Getting close to seasonal for this time of year. +2 on Monday with sunny skies. For Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, chance of flurries for tomorrow, high of -10, -19 for the low, so that will be quite cold for sure. -4 on Saturday, chance of flurries, chance of sleet on Sunday, high of +4, a 10-degree difference. -1 on Monday with cloudy skies. For Temiskaming Shores, Kirkland Lake, mix of sun and cloud for tomorrow, feeling like -24 in the morning with the wind chill, high of -8. Chance of flurries on Saturday, chance of sleet on Sunday, high of +3, and then cloudy skies on Monday with a high of 1 degree. And finally for North Bay, West Nipissing, mainly sunny skies for tomorrow, high of -7, -4 on Saturday, a chance of flurries, chance of sleet on Sunday, high of +2, getting closer to spring-like conditions. 3 degrees on Monday with a mix of sun and clouds, so that looks like it'll be a pretty nice day. Chance of sleet on Tuesday, high of 1 degree, and then a chance of sleet on Wednesday. So we are starting to see some warmer conditions out there. And for today's weather pick of the day, oh dear, Randy and Sandra Skippin sent in this photo from Gore Bay, and she said that it was a curious deer that appeared at their doorstep, and what a great shot. Thank you so much for sending that in. Coming up after the break, CTV's Eric Tashner has a story about a push for a veteran to receive a medal upgrade. Details next.
The province is calling on Ottawa to create an independent military honors review board to re-examine veterans' cases where evidence suggests the Victoria Cross should be awarded. As CTV's Eric Tashner tells us, there is a push to upgrade a Northern Veterans Medal.
The fight to award Nipissing veteran Private Jess LaRochelle with the Victoria Cross is taking a major step forward.
Every major military organization or branch association have all agreed. Royal Canadian Legion has agreed.
Harrison spoke with Premier Doug Ford on the phone last week and pitched the case, with Ford offering his support to help.
We made our way down and sat in the gallery, and yeah, it was really moving.
The Ontario government is requesting Ottawa establish a third-party military honors review board to re-examine veterans' cases, including LaRochelle's, where evidence suggests they should be awarded with the Victoria Cross.
For the men and women who served, war was not a story. It was a reality.
LaRochelle was gravely wounded in 2006 in Afghanistan while manning an observation post when the Taliban attacked, killing 2 in his company. Despite serious injuries, LaRochelle mounted a counteroffensive, holding off an estimated 40 enemy fighters to help save other injured troops. After returning home, he never fully recovered, dying in 2023 at the age of 40. Since then, community members and other local veterans have been pushing to award him with the Victoria Cross posthumously for his act of bravery.
Jess is, a hero to myself and thousands of other Canadian veterans.
The Victoria Cross is the country's highest military honor and has not been awarded since the end of World War II. In 1993, Canada created its own Victoria Cross medal, and it has never been awarded.
In the case of Private LaRochelle, there's no doubt that he met that standard.
LaRochelle was awarded the Star of Military Valor in 2007, Canada's second highest military honor, and a petition to the federal government to upgrade the medal was signed by over 16,000 Canadians. It will be read out in the House of Commons on April 15th.
Our heroes from wars after the Second World War deserve recognition.
Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Health officials in Newfoundland are warning of the risks of extreme workouts after a spike in hospitalizations from a rare and potentially life-threatening condition. As CTV's Garrett Berry reports, there have been 20 cases in the eastern part of the province since October.
With just weeks to go, 27-year-old Kyra Fancy should be focusing on her July wedding. But recent warnings of sudden increases in rhabdomyolysis cases
It was a traumatic experience, to say the least.
have brought back awful memories.
When I got off the bike, actually, I fell to the floor. My legs buckled beneath me.
Her first spin class, December 2023, trying to blow off some exam season stress. She had been introduced to everybody by the instructors and didn't want to fall behind.
I was embarrassed and I was like, I can't stop. So I just forced myself because I was like, the worst thing that could happen is I'm just going to tear my muscles, you know.
What followed? 5 days of intense pain. When the pain didn't go away and she did go to the hospital, she stayed there for almost a week.
I was in utter shock because I literally did a spin class and I couldn't understand how that led to me possibly like dying, is how he was saying it.
This kind of exercise-induced rhabdomyolysis is what doctors are seeing more and more in Newfoundland and Labrador, and health officials say the majority of those recent cases have been found in young women.
It's absolutely avoidable. Yeah, it shouldn't happen. And all the research that leads to rhabdo in the fitness scene usually leads to finding a look at that programming and how it was delivered.
Spin classes have been put under the microscope since the health warning was issued. Jill Whalen, coach and owner of Elevate Movement Club, says classes can and should be delivered safely with trained coaches.
The reason why, for example, this room for spin is laid out the way it is so that the coach can make contact with every single individual in the room. And we went through months and months of training before we ever opened our doors.
She says both coaches and participants should be doing more to ensure everybody is safe. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Paramedic Services in Greater Sudbury is hopeful permanent funding for a patient transfer vehicle will come from the Ministry of Health after the success of a pilot project. Officials say it helps keep paramedics available for emergencies and also helps with patient flow at Health Sciences North. CTV's Alan Everson reports.
Officials with Paramedic Services in Greater Sudbury say during the 2-year pilot project, this patient transfer vehicle reduced non-urgent transfers done by ambulance by 70%.
We received funding for 2 years starting in 2024, and that funding was to operate a 2-year pilot to study the transportation of medically stable patients that could be placed on this vehicle that would free up paramedic resources to be available for emergency calls.
The chief of Paramedic Services says 9 staff who worked as transfer attendants during the 2-year pilot project were on fixed-year contracts that end April 1st.
So right now we're going to be pivoting to using existing staff, and depending on the amount of funding and the duration, we will bring a report back to City Council, which would go through a normal budgetary process. But right now we believe that the decision to utilize existing staff is the right one, and that's where we're headed operationally.
Paramedic Services confirm 90% of the transfers over the past 2 years were to and from Health Sciences North.
And typically there are challenges associated with moving patient flow throughout the hospital where we have ambulances on offload delay. So this vehicle will help support increasing capacity for patient flow to ensure that patients that are waiting for a bed can be moved up as we are able to discharge and return patients back to where they belong or where they live.
The service is currently awaiting word on permanent funding from the Ministry of Health. In the interim, the patient transfer vehicle is still operating. The service says if funding comes through, it will be retroactive. Alan Everson, CTV News, Sudbury.
Algoma Public Health says it's now issuing suspension orders to students with incomplete vaccination records. In a news release, APH says letters are being sent to parents and guardians of students with missing vaccination records. If no action is taken, it says affected students will be suspended from school for up to 20 school days this spring. Provincial law dictates students must be vaccinated against certain diseases to attend class. It hasn't happened in 5 years. Still ahead on CTV News at 6. Laurentian University has named a new chancellor, and he has deep ties to the post-secondary institution.
Clothing provided by Laura, Melanie Lynn.
For the first time in 5 years, Laurentian University has a new chancellor. The school has appointed Kristen Straub to the role. Straub is a member of the Henvey Inlet and French River No. 13 First Nation. He serves as the inaugural president and CEO of the Canadian Indigenous Loans Corporation. Straub is a Laurentian alumnus and the grandson of Art and Eva Solomon, two foundational figures who helped establish the university's Native Studies program.
They did a lot of work both in Sudbury, regionally across Canada, as well as internationally on the promotion of equality, of cultural balancing, and bringing the social challenges that Indigenous folks across the world faced. And they did a lot of work at advancing that. So I'm proud as a grandson to be able to continue participating in a university that permits that legacy to continue.
Straub will officially take over following an installation ceremony this spring. Marymount Academy students in Sudbury hosted a Women in SET Career Day, inspiring students about future careers in science, engineering, technology, and trades. The day started with a presentation before getting the chance to network with professionals in the industries. This event was organized by a student using her connections with women in the industry. She says it snowballed to other classmates and teachers, drawing in more women for the career day.
I met professional engineers who were female. I met women working in various fields across science, engineering, trades, and technology. And for the first time, I could really picture myself there. And I actually felt like I had a place and like I could succeed. And there are so many wonderful opportunities in those fields, and women really can thrive. And I think that sometimes all it takes is just to meet that one person or a few people that you can really connect to, and their story really resonates with you. And I wanted to share that with my school.
I think it's fantastic because sometimes young women aren't knowledgeable about all the career opportunities that there are for them. So when they have mentors that come out and show that women are in all these vast and underrepresented fields, it gives them that empowering feeling that they can put themselves into those positions as well. So it's a very enlightening day for them.
Poirier says the event also served as a reminder of the powerful and supportive community of women in Sudbury. A little girl has made friends with an Olympian who's encouraging her dive into her Olympic dreams. CTV's Tyson Fedor has that story.
It's a moment grade 1 student Kaylee Wilshire did not think would happen. Before the Winter Olympics, Kaylee got to introduce a member of Canada's men's bobsled team in front of her school. That's when she became fascinated with Johan Eskrik Parkinson's journey from the water to the ice.
He could do diving, and it doesn't matter which sport you could do, and also it doesn't matter if you can do two things at the exact same time.
Eskrik Parkinson narrowly missed qualifying for Team Jamaica at the 2024 Paralympic Games for diving, so he pursued bobsledding, making his first Olympic appearance this year in Italy. Kaylee connected with his story.
He said, I want to follow up with you. I got to go to Olympics, so be right back. And then he did. And that just like his integrity and who he is.
I think it's a story of mentorship. I would not be where I am today without all the mentors that helped me get here from when I was her age, around when I started diving.
The pair reconnected on the diving board. She started small before moving higher.
Jumping off the 5 high board.
Kaylee loves diving, a sport she one day hopes to compete in at the Olympic level.
You can do lots of cool moves, and that you can also dive head first.
Several previous injuries only made her more brave on the diving board high above the water. With each plunge, Kaylee shows no fear.
I cracked my head open 2 times, and also I broke my elbow. But I kept going.
For Eskrik Parkinson, mentoring the next generation in a sport he loved growing up has been rewarding, but not enough. for him to possibly think of qualifying for the Games in Los Angeles in 2028.
I think I put on 30 pounds in the last 2 years or so, and getting back into diving would require a complete physique change, a complete mental change. So I think I'm going to stick with bobsled as long as I can.
Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Calgary.
In sports, 2 teams advanced to the NOJHL semifinals last night. The upset is complete as the Sioux Eagles swept the second-place Poisson Voodoos in Game 4 last night. The Eagles won 3-2 in overtime. In Espanola, the Paper Kings and Hearst Lumberjacks went into double overtime, with the Lumberjacks taking this game 8-7. And another double overtime match last night in Sault Ste. Marie, where the Thunderbirds and Timmins Rock were duking it out. Timmins comes out with a 3-2 win to tie the series 2 games apiece. Game 5 will be Friday night in Timmins. And the playoffs begin this evening in the Ontario Hockey League. The North Bay Battalion finished the season in 5th behind the Peterborough Petes. The best of 7 series starts at 7:05 in Peterborough. In entertainment news, an iconic film is back in theaters, and an acclaimed play is revived with its playwright in the leading role. Here's David Daniel with our Hollywood Minute.
The day Rome falls, there will be a shout of freedom such as the world has never heard before.
Here's your chance to see Ben-Hur on the big screen. The 1959 epic, which won Best Picture and 10 other Oscars, has been remastered in 4K and returns to theaters March 29th for 4 days only. More info at fathomentertainment.com.
This store is my story.
Ins Choi wrote Kim's Convenience 15 years ago and originally played the part of the son. The play about a Korean family-run store inspired a television series and now a traveling revival of the acclaimed show in which he's playing the father.
But I always wanted to play Appa one day, and you know, I got older and had kids, and they call me Appa, so they've been preparing me for this role for their whole lives.
Kim's Convenience, what Choi calls his love letter to first-generation immigrants, is playing in Los Angeles through April 19th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We heard from the Bank of Canada today about the higher price of oil. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
The Bank of Canada says that higher oil prices will push up inflation in the near term. Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Rogers says it is the bank's priority to guard against the higher price of oil inflating the price of other goods and services. She adds that it's too early to assess the impacts of the oil price on Canada's growth, but it can boost income for energy exporters but squeeze consumers. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.17. West Texas Intermediate is up over $4 to 94.48. Western Canadian Select, however, is down to 74.33, and the TSX lost almost 500 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Here are the current prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold dropped $100.02, closing the day at $44.0628 U.S. an ounce. Silver down $2.74. Copper remained the same, while nickel rose a penny, ending the day at $7.73 U.S. a pound. And Amanda's back now for one last look at your Friday weather.
And for our Friday, we'll be trading gray skies for blue skies, Tony. It will be cold out there, though. Sudbury, Timmins, and Sault Ste. Marie, between -10 to -5 degrees out there. Feeling a bit colder out there with the wind chill for sure. In Parry Sound, sunny skies. Mix of sun and cloud in Temiskaming Shores, and mainly sunny skies in North Bay. Feeling colder out there for sure, so you definitely want to bundle up. Tony.
Thanks for that, Amanda. And finally, there was a new face at a Fredericton City Council meeting this week, though she is not old enough to vote. A local councillor brought her 7-week-old daughter into council chambers in what was a historic first for the city. CTV's Laura Brown has that story.
7 weeks in the world, and baby Josie is already making a statement that parenthood and politics can, in fact, mix.
We have a very special guest with us this evening, and it marks a historic moment for Fredericton City Council.
Josie was the youngest attendee ever at Monday's regular council meeting in Fredericton. A balancing act, Councillor Cassandra LeBlanc admits came with some very normal newborn anxieties.
Worrying about my baby having a blowout and where am I going to change them? If it's mid-council, I don't want to miss a vote.
Also, breastfeeding and what to do if she cried. Josie rose to the occasion, showing everyone she belongs. Mayor Kate Rogers says it's taken some time to get here, though. She's Fredericton's first female mayor.
And the conversation was, why aren't there more women at the table? And I would say, women don't want to be at that table because that table is not welcoming to us. I wanted to create a space where women knew that it was their place.
Very few sitting New Brunswick politicians have given birth while in office. 5 years ago, MLA Megan Mitten had to ask that the provincial legislature install change tables so she could bring her newborn to the House. At 27, LeBlanc was the youngest woman elected to council in 2021, knowing at some point she'd want to start a family.
But I think this is a great example of how the secondary plan is supposed to work. And I hope one day she looks back on that and is proud of her mom, and maybe it inspires her and other little girls to run for council or other offices.
A reminder that even the youngest constituents can make waves. And of course, the hope is for baby Josie to grow up in a world with more women and mothers around the political table. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
And folks, that's CTV News at 6. I'm Tony Ryma. Thanks so much for watching. More news comes your way at 11:30 with Ian Campbell. Good night, folks.